Hi, this is video 4 of our homeowner video series for on-site wastewater systems. This video will be talking about failed or malfunctioning wastewater treatment systems. I'm Mary O'Leary. I'm a professor in the Civil and Environmental Engineering Technology program in the engineering department at Vermont State University. So failed wastewater systems in Vermont. Historically, we have had 400 to 500 failed systems a year that have been reported. Since the pandemic, that has been increasing to about 600 per year. This map here shows the failed systems that have happened since 2017. Now, these are reported, permitted, and replaced systems. Of course, there are more failed systems that haven't been reported to the state. The state does hope to start correlating all of these mapped locations with soils, years, and other information. As part of outreach to everyone involved, we have this video series that you're listening to right now. There's also been technical guidance documents that have been made for licensed designers, regulatory officials, and contractors. There's a series of Vermont homeowner short sheets that we'll talk a little bit at the end. These are posted on the state website. There's a homeowner checklist as part of it. There's who to call for a contractor as part of that. And then there's how to deal with a licensed designer. Then there's multiple trainings. Licensed designers have their own training, state and municipal regulators, homeowners, and then contractors and installers right now are being trained as part of a voluntary certification program. So protecting your home. Malfunctioning or failed systems can contaminate soils and water resources. Untreated wastewater can be a danger to human health and the environment, you, your family, or a neighbor. Malfunctioning or failed systems damage your home with waste backups. Poorly functioning septic systems can make it more difficult to sell your home. The reality, many so-called failed systems are actually systems which can be fixed relatively easily. For example, pumping out a tank, fixing a broken pipe, or repairing a pump. A failed system per the Vermont rules means that wastewater is exposed to the open air, pools on the surface of the ground, discharges directly to a surface water, or backs up into a building or structure. Additionally, systems that have reoccurring, continuing, or seasonal failures are also considered failed systems. A wastewater system may be malfunctioning but not actually failed if it can be remedied by minor repair or replacement of physical components. Effects that last for a brief period, the system has recovered, and cause of failure was unusual and non-reoccurring, like a hurricane. This can also mean a malfunctioning system, not a failed system. So, something's wrong at your house. The sink or toilet is backed up, or it just doesn't drain well. There's standing water in your lawn, or there's a sewage smell inside or outside of the house. Narrow down the problem if you can. Is the problem occurring only in the wet season, after heavy rains, or throughout the year? Does it happen every day, on weekends, or just with high occupancy or large gatherings at your home? Narrow it down further if you can. Has the wastewater quantity or strength changed? That means, is there anything other than domestic wastewater that is included in the discharge to the septic system? Has the system operated well for years and just failed, or has it been getting worse over a long time? What could be wrong? The tank hasn't been pumped, is clogged, or is installed incorrectly. The distribution box was installed incorrectly or is damaged. Tree or shrub roots have entered into the leach field or the piping system. This happens way more often than you would think. The leach field area has been compacted by vehicles or damaged by inadvertent excavating in the area. The landscape has changed, so the leach field area is now flooded regularly by surface or by groundwater. The leach field could have been installed in the wrong place. This also happens more frequently than you would think. If you have a pump for your system, the pump or the floats might not be working correctly. What else could be wrong? The system has been overwhelmed with too much water or water that has a different chemistry than residential wastewater. Possible reasons for increased water quantity: water use increase in the home, new babies or several teenagers, added users or expanding the structure, adding more bedrooms than what you were permitted for. Another possibility is using the home as a rental property with more people than the system was designed for. This applies to both short or long-term rentals. Or new businesses or hobbies connected to the septic system. Examples of businesses and hobbies that could impact water volume and strength are daycare centers, beauty shops, home brewing, photography processing, taxidermy, pet washing, or any type of hobby or business that would increase the fog, that is, the fats, oils, and grease going into your septic system. Other examples that impact water volume and strength compared to the design use of the system, which is for the number of bedrooms in your home. So the septic system could be connected with the sump pump, runoff from the roof, foundation drainage, floor drains, or a heat pump discharge. You could have water softener recharge brine being discharged into your septic tank, swimming pool filter backwash water, or some type of industrial wastewater. Other things that have happened have been when people have emptied their pool near their disposal field or had some other large water dump near the disposal field. Easy things to check first. Has your tank been pumped in the last 3 to 5 years? If not, call a septic pumping contractor. Has the filter on the septic tank been cleaned? You can do it yourself or call a contractor. Do you notice really green grass above any part of your outside system, above the tank, the piping system, or the leach field? It is normal to have grass growing a little bit faster, a little bit greener above a leach field. It is not normal to have it really green and distinct. That often means that your leach field is backing up, as shown on the picture here. Find a copy of the permit or a plan for your system if you have it. Who do you call? You could call a septic pumping service company. You could call a contractor, depending on what you think is wrong, a construction contractor, a plumber, or an electrician, or you can call a licensed designer. The plumber, the electrician, and the designer are all licensed through the state of Vermont. Construction contractors are at this point not licensed, however, there is a voluntary certification program in place with the idea of eventually perhaps being licensed. If you have an innovative or alternative wastewater treatment system, you will need to call an IA service provider for that type of system. In Vermont, these IA service providers are approved by the state of Vermont and are currently undergoing a voluntary certification process. The state has created a short sheet series to help homeowners. The series helps the homeowner determine possible problems with their system and then who to contact to investigate and fix certain aspects of a malfunctioning system. A plumbing contractor, an excavation wastewater service, pumping contractor, or a licensed designer. From short sheet number 1, this is a homeowner checklist. Is your malfunctioning septic system, is it failed or is it in need of a little TLC? This gets homeowners to pull together as much information as possible before a contractor or electrician or licensed designer arrive onto the site. Short sheet 2 talks about plumbing contractors and what they can check and fix. They can check properly draining pipes from your toilet and sinks. They can fix clogged pipes or partially collapsed pipes heading outside the building. They can check plugged vent pipes or anything mistakenly tied into your septic system. They can also check your septic tank to see if it's full or if it's leaking. Also from short sheet 2, excavating and wastewater service contractors. They can check and fix if your pump is not working correctly, if your system has a pump. They can check the full or leaking septic tanks or a clogged tank filter. They can look at malfunctioning distribution boxes. They can fix collapsed pipes. They can also check landscape changes that might have affected the leach field. Some aspects of impacts to your leach field require a licensed designer to inspect the leach field to assess the damage. For example, roots from trees or brush that might have impacted the leach field itself, or compaction of the leach field from driving or parking on it. Excavating contractors cannot complete a major repair or replace a leach field without a permit. You need to contact a licensed designer. From short sheet 3, if no easy fixes were identified and repaired by a contractor, a more robust assessment should be undertaken. This requires having a licensed designer assess the system. The licensed designer will consider the results from the contractor's inspection, if it's available, or your notes from their visit. If the system has a permit, as it should, is the wastewater system installed correctly in the specified location, and does it meet all setbacks? A licensed designer might also consider the type and location of the water source and if the water use in the home has changed in either quantity or in quality, the conditions surrounding the leach field, and the conditions within the leach field. So is it a minor repair or a replacement? Vermont has rules regarding what is a minor repair, so it doesn't need a permit, and what type of fix needs a permit or a permit amendment to fix a malfunctioning system. Your knowledgeable contractor or licensed designer can help identify a minor replacement or repair. In general, minor repairs are repair or replacement of pumping components or the tank itself, repair or replacement of a pipe, not if it's in the leach field, replacement of a portion of a distribution pipe in the leach field under certain conditions. Some repairs and all leach field replacements will require a permit from the Vermont State Drinking Water and Groundwater Protection Program. A licensed designer will need to visit your site and determine what can be done to fix the system. If the designer feels that this is a problematic site, they can always invite the state regional engineer to visit your home prior to submitting a solution. If a permit or a permit amendment is required, the appropriate documentation with the corrective action, which means the repair or replacement that will be done for your system, needs to be submitted by the licensed designer for approval. The licensed designer will have to inspect the system as it's being repaired or replaced. So homeowners, it's up to you. To maintain your system, read and follow the Homeowner's Wastewater System handout, which is posted on the state system to maintain your septic system. Be sure you know what kind of regular maintenance is necessary for your type of system. Encourage good wastewater habits. Don't overload your system or dispose of non-domestic wastes into your sinks or toilets. Thanks for watching. This video series was developed through a Lake Champlain Basin Program grant managed through the Wastewater System and Potable Water Supply Program in Vermont's Department of Environmental Drinking Water and Groundwater Protection Division.